And we should be live. Hopefully, the sound is good. The last Cthulhu game I ran, luckily, one of my friends let me know the sound wasn't, but I think we're good right now. Everything seemed fine. Welcome back to Uncanny Adventures. We're here to play some more Call of Cthulhu in the Old West. And this adventure is called Beneath the Burning Sun. I've got a brand new group of players who want to play some Cthulhu. Maybe a familiar face from a previous Old West Cthulhu game is here too. And I'm really excited for this. So we're gonna go around and let everybody introduce themselves. Oh, I'm Jeanette. I'll be the keeper here, and I'll be the one trying to make sure I don't mess up any of the rules too badly. I make no guarantees whatsoever. But with that, we're gonna say hello to our new players. Let them tell us about themselves and the investigators they're bringing to this journey, and then we're gonna see what happens. So, who would like to start? I'm
I mean, I can, but I'm not one of the new. I mean, I'm a new player,
well,
not a new player.
seeing as you spoke first, I'm gonna let you go first.
Hi, I'm Theater Nerd. I'm very excited to be back here. No, we did not reincarnate Delilah. I'm going to play not such a rash character, hopefully. Um, Today I am bringing Marshal Wallace, the lawman, a federal marshal. Before you confuse their first name, his first name, um, for being Marshall. It's not Sam. I'm very excited to be back and playing some more Call of Cthulhu because I don't think I could play it with anyone else now. No
Oh,
pressure. No
Aw.
pressure, but I don't think I could.
very good. And I'll go around. I'm gonna go by my screen. We'll go with Joanna next.
Hi, everybody. I'm Joanna. I am at Thriftbirds on Twitter, as I think the display says. And I will be bringing Sister Michal, the Woman of God, to the town of, you said Shade, right?
Shade, yes.
Yeah, to the town of Shade, because she is searching for a mentioned panacea, an all-cure elixir thing.
I didn't mention
Excellent.
why Marshal Wallace is coming. Although it should be obvious. I've heard shady stuff happens in Shade, and therefore I'm coming to investigate.
No, it's an ironic nickname, like Greenland is covered in ice.
And Iceland
Exactly.
is actually more green than Greenland? Isn't that how it goes or something like that?
Yeah,
Something like that. And
so
how
they
about
say.
it's true. And how about now we go with Ray?
Hi, I'm Ray. I'm playing Samuel Smith, the geologist, who's going to be trying to investigate the strange rumors of metals and precious ore in the area.
Sounds good. And Taru. Did I say that
Yeah,
right?
yeah. I'm Taro, and I will be playing Baxter Duff-Banford, a 15-year-old who is being who is being tracked by this marshal because, well, he is
I
not.
feel bad. I want you to do something good with your life and not turn to a life of
Uh,
crime.
yeah, yeah. Baxter is not, let's say, good side with the law.
At least for now. We'll see if Marshall can drag you back over that fine line. Or if you drag Marshall over the line the other direction. Who knows? But,
Or
so
if
these
something
are.
drags you both to hell.
This is true. Thank you very much for hosting. Yes, and if yeah, that's true too. So our adventure begins with this interesting group of individuals, um, who have all got their varied reasons for traveling to this small town, and they're coming out of the Santa Fe area, and spend a couple days on the road together, kind of, getting to know each other if they don't already know each other well, or catching up if they are already friends. And so why don't we like say, how do you all kind of know each other? We know that Baxter and Marshall are kind of a pair. They have different interests, but they're concerned about each other in some way. But what about the rest of you? Like, what's the kind of the relations here between the group as far as knowing one another?
I think, at least to some extent, Joanna, you can correct me if I'm wrong. The sister and the marshal have been traveling, like, they seem to magically appear or travel at the same time out of places together. At least that's what I've been cooking in my head, unless you have another suggestion.
No, that sounds about right.
Okay. And Ray was just wherever, or Samuel. This is not going to get confusing at all. Samuel, I don't know, were you just in the last city where we were before we came to Shade, or?
Yeah, I envisioned Samuel to have been traveling westward. He's kind of on his way to kind of investigate. He's kind of was on his own a bit, but probably traveled with you guys since you looked like you knew what you were doing. And obviously being a lawman, you probably was well equipped to deal with any kind of untoward individuals on the road.
Yup.
And so while you're traveling, you can all either be on horseback individually, or the road is well enough traveled that they do have stagecoach, and it can be a mix of the two depending on how your character would choose to travel in that time, I guess.
I've got my own horse.
I got a horse.
Does your horse have a name?
Or is it a
A
horse,
horse
with
with
no
no
name?
name.
Jinx.
I'm fine. I owe you a soda. Anyway, yes, I have. I did not come up with horse name yet.
Okay.
Although
Well,
I
when you
find
think
it
of one.
ironic right now. Maybe I just call it Marshall.
Yeah, I was about to say the horse is also named Marshall.
That's not
I
my
think
first
that
name.
I think that's it now. The horse is named Marshall.
I'm okay with this. I like this.
And what does Baxter call his horse?
I was thinking Bertha. It's a male.
Bertha? Ah. Don't worry, I don't do any harm to horses, even though I'm sure Theater Nerd's gonna make a face at that. The horses all survived. All right, so you're all traveling along the road, and it's a fair distance and a bit of a journey to get to Shade from the Santa Fe area, but you manage to not have any trouble along the way. And you've all heard a few things about Shade. Shade is a small town. Probably 300 people live in Shade as a regular day to day. There's various travelers that come and go, but 300 people is about the population. The town sprang up after someone named Jeremy Shallot found silver in the mountains nearby and started a silver mine and had to bring out people to work the mine for him. And of course, his discovery brought out many other prospectors to the area to try and find their riches in the land. No one really has had quite as good of luck as the Shallot family. But the good thing about the area is that it was still had fertile farmland. It had good sources of water. And so those that didn't make their riches as far as mining and getting claims were able to kind of build up small homesteads and farms. And along with that, a pretty good cattle business kind of came of it. And there's actually a lot of small cattle ranches throughout the surrounding area of Shade, and 3 much larger cattle ranches run by 3 different little families that are kind of the big names in that area. So a little bit of news has gotten back here and there. One of the problems with Shade is while they do have a lawman in town, and the general rule of the area is to send criminals back to the big city for trial, it's word's gotten out that most of the time the locals tend to take justice into their own hands. They enjoy, just a little bit of public justice, and that's kind of become an issue a little bit for the law, as the lawman in town is very much by the book, and he struggles with fighting a coalition that was created by the cattle ranchers that kind of takes this upon themselves to do this. So, after a number of days on the road, you all clear this rise coming into a little low valley. The mountains kind of surround the western side of town in the distance. You can see them kind of rise up in the cloud cover and things like that. And you see just this small little town, very quaint, kind of built down below in the valley. It's sort of got one main road down the center with what looks like kind of a outer circular road that connects from one end to the other, and various cross streets in between where businesses and houses have kind of sprung up. There's a lot of 1-story buildings. There's a couple 2-story buildings. You do see 1 or 2 really nice houses kind of built, like bigger, that look more well-to-do. And it's probably late in the afternoon. It's a warm but dry day, and you can see the town is kind of hustling and bustling with various members of the town moving about their daily business as you come in, and you get a few looks as anybody new coming into town would get. And you can see the stagecoach and the horses. You all kind of come pulling up in front of the livery and stable in town. And one of the young men who works at the livery kind of runs out and helps to sort of take the, horses as you come in, and brings them over to the trough and just kind of nods like, good afternoon. Welcome to Shade. How are you today? And he's kind of looking around, just smiling as he goes about his business, checking on the animals and things like that. And you all are in the thoroughfare of the street, dismounting or climbing out of a stagecoach, stretching your legs, the middle of a busy little western city. What do you all want to do?
I'm gonna go check in with the town's lawman, or the city's lawman.
All right.
I think it's a town of 300 people, not a city.
Yeah, it is a small town. And as you rode in and you got here, you kind of looked around because the livery is sort of maybe like the second building as you kind of come in through the main road. And this young man is probably about 17 years old. He's pretty tall, pretty solidly built. He looks like he's been doing this for quite some time, and you can see sort of bustling inside what probably sits as a livery's office is a middle-aged woman. Sort of looks like she's moving some books and things, and just keeping busy in the office area. And he kind of gives you a smile. He's like, "What brings you to Shade?"
I think I puff out my chest just a bit so that the badge becomes more apparent. Could you point me in the direction of the lawman?
I'm sorry. Sure, Marshal. Well, the marshal's office is you just got to go down the street here, and it's just down the block a few ways on the left-hand side. You can't miss it. Just that direction.
She will tip her hat and walk down in the direction that he pointed her.
All right then. Bye. He kind of he kind of turns back to the rest of you. Uh, not lawman there, huh? So what can I do for the rest of y'all?
Can you
Poor kid.
point towards the saloon?
Well, I can indeed. I guess my question would be, and he kind of looks back into the office to see what the older woman's doing, and he says, "Are you looking for a more upstanding, uh, establishment, or are you looking for a more rough and tumble kind of place?"
Hmm. I guess that's rough and tumble place.
Oh, all right. He well, don't tell my ma that that I'm letting you in on this, cause she'll be mad that I even know this. But yeah, you're if you're looking for the more rough and tumble, you're looking for the Rattler's Nest, and well, you just want to go straight down the main street here. You're gonna go about right to the end, almost of the main road, and the Rattler's Nest kind of sits off on its own, off down the right hand side street there. But just be careful, cause you know, people get shot in there just for looking at someone the wrong way.
That won't be a problem. And thank you. And I
Yeah, no worries. But oh, by the way, I'm Arthur.
call me Baxter.
All right, but yeah, just be careful and you know, take it easy. Maybe I'll see you if you don't get into trouble with them down there at the Rattler's Nest. Or well, what can I do for the rest of y'all?
I think I'll be accompanying him to the saloon.
All right then. Yep, same way. And you, ma'am?
I am in a full nun's habit, I must emphasize.
Oh yeah, that's the ma'am. I think he's most intimidated by you of everybody he's just met.
Arthur,
Yes,
dear
ma'am.
child,
Mm.
I know the follies of youth, so I am just going to ignore that you just directed this other individual to a place of clear ill repute and not tell your mother such. Would you mind directing me to the church, if you have such in shade?
Oh, yeah, yes, ma'am. I'm sorry about that. Yes, please don't tell my ma. She'll be real upset with me. But yeah, the church is we go there every Sunday. Ma and I do. It's he's really like pulling at his collar and sweating now. He's like, so you follow these two all the way down, and where they're gonna take a right and go to the Rattler's Nest. You're gonna want to make a left, and it's right down there on the left. It's Reverend Bowman runs the church. He's nice older gentleman, and yeah. So and I'm sure he's around. He should be in. He usually is there most of the time, unless he's making a house call for someone who's in need.
He's
He's
very considerate and community-minded
oh
priest,
he's
then?
he's a good man. My mom she swears by his preaching, and we get dressed up in our Sunday best and we go into church, and he's real good at taking care of his parishioners.
Wonderful, wonderful, as a shepherd should be. Thank you for your time, Arthur. Have a
You're welcome,
blessed
man.
day.
You as well. Tell Reverend Bowman I said hello.
Of course.
All right, thank you. And he just kind of takes back to his duties, kind of watching you all as you all head in the same direction. So when you move off, you do all kind of move off down the street as a group. just walking along, you can see that as you move down the main thoroughfare, there's just back where the livery was, there was this closed up cart that looks like it kind of like it's done up for a show, though it's closed right now. Like you could see that it looked like the front end could be opened and it looked like there was like a canopy that could be popped up, but currently it's closed and very quiet there. As you kind of look around, you can see the other side of the livery is a blacksmith shop. On the opposite side of the street, you pass a dry goods store that says Maxwell's out front. You also see this large 2-story, what looks like part saloon / boarding house, but it looks like a pretty nice establishment over there. The building's really well done, crisp paint job, decorations out on the front of the porch, and then strangely, kind of set back behind that building is what looks like a boxing ring, sort of set just in the shadow of it, kind of maybe 30 or so feet off from it. And there's kind of an area around it where people can sort of gather and view. A couple other things you notice. One or two of the very nice houses is kind of in the central area of town. They have well done like decorations out front. They're 2 stories, fine architecture. It looks like no expenses were spared for them. And you see a little news office kind of set by itself, just this kind of little rickety 1-room news office. And right in the center of town, you see the bank and the schoolhouse are kind of in the central square of the area too. And the doctor's office is also there. So the first building that you all are looking for, of all of you that you're looking for, that you come across, is you see the marshal's office as you're all walking down the street, which is a couple blocks before the Rattler's Nest and the church. So Marshal, if you wanted to break off from the group and kind of stop off at the Marshal's office.
Yes,
this isn't going to get confusing.
My plan.
All right. So,
I want to introduce myself and offer my help with his vigilante justice problem.
All right. So, as the rest
I have
of you...
to ask.
Yes.
Are you leading Marshal as you're walking to the Marshal's office?
No, I left Marshal to be washed and watered and fed, figuring that I could go back to the livery and be like, what do I owe you?
Very nice. All right. So, as the rest of you continue on your way down the main street towards your various destinations, Marshal, you kind of step up on the porch of this small 1-level sort of Marshal's office. There's just a sign out front with a badge on it that sort of gives it away as to what it is. And when you step up, the door is slightly ajar and the windows are open, probably to let in any little breeze that comes by. And you can hear footsteps inside, kind of moving about behind the slightly ajar door.
Does it seem like one person?
Yeah, you'd only make out one person's footsteps.
Okay. Well then, and the door is open?
Yep, just a little bit.
I think what happens is I walk up to the door, take my hat off, and say, "Excuse me, Marshal."
What? You hear footsteps, and the door swings further open, and you see an older man. He's got a kind of a serious scowl on his face, big lips, mustache, kind of white hair sticking out from under a big hat, and he looks up at you as you're probably fairly tall, and says, "What's that? Well, hello there. What can I do for you?"
Well, I heard you might be having a vigilante justice problem in town,
Oh,
and I have
oh.
come to offer my assistance with such problems.
At this point, he kind of his eyes kind of fall on your badge, and he says, another lawman I see. Well, welcome to Shade. Yes, I'm Marshal Otis, and you are.
That would be Marshal Wallace, sir.
Well, it's not nice to make your acquaintance. I've yes, we do have a bit of a problem with that, I suppose. I guess word's gotten out. Damned if I don't try to do my best over here, but you know how these things go.
I do know, and that's why I came to offer my help in town.
Well, that's mighty nice of you. I am a short one deputy at the moment. God rest his soul. He passed a few weeks ago, and I could use some help. Why don't you step inside? And he kind of looks up and down the street. Can I get you a coffee?
That would be fantastic, sir. I just
He
want you
goes-
to know, though, I am no deputy. I just want to make that obvious. I'm willing to help, but I will not take that title.
Oh no, it's I was just saying he passed on, and so I have been short-handed as far as help goes. And he walks over and he lights up his stove, and he takes a pot, checks it, sees if there's just enough water in it, puts it on, and leaves it sitting on there. And he says, see, the problem here in Shade is we get a lot of hotheads that come in, a lot of the prospectors who are going out into the hills trying to make some money. They come up short, they come back to town, they get to drinking, they get to shooting each other up when they get into misunderstandings, or if one of them cheats the other one at a card game or something like that. And unfortunately, what's that?
Have they not heard of the concept of a duel? Like at
Well,
dawn or dusk or some other time of the day? At
I
high
mean,
noon?
some of them, they do know about those things, but this is more of a, someone will get killed and someone
And
will,
their family kills someone of the family.
yeah, that too, but like someone will kill someone over a claim, and then we really should send them up to Santa Fe to get tried, and instead the committee will come in, they come riding in, and they take them up and they find the nearest tree and they lash them over, with a lasso, and next thing you know, we got a public hanging on our hands, and there was really no actual law brought in to deal with it, is the problem, because the committee pretty much thinks that they're in charge and they run everything around here.
Do you know who runs the committee? And where I might be able to, take my badge off and maybe observe them?
Well, the committee's made up of basically some of these ranchers that think that since they bring in the money and things like that to town that Shallot doesn't bring from his silver mine, that they can kind of do what they want. So mostly it's the Martins. They bunch of they think they're tough, and they'll ride out into the mountains and look for trouble just so that they can show how tough they are. Like, they're those kind of boys.
Oh. That's all she says. It's just, oh, with the tone of disgust and contempt. Like,
Yeah,
she's
it's understandable.
dealt with people like this before and doesn't enjoy dealing with them.
Well, yeah, they're a lot of trouble, I'll tell you. But because we got basically three families that got the bigger cattle ranches. We got the Shallots. They're the ones that also got the silver mine. We got the Mendozas, whose cattle never seems to dwindle in size, no matter how many times they run them up to sell. They always seem to have more cattle. Nobody knows how they do that. And then obviously the Martins, and even though they're smaller than the other two, the Martins have secured themselves, I guess, a contract to supply beef to the U.S. Cavalry, I suppose is what I heard. So,
Remind me, what year is it?
It is 1877.
Okay, so we're just after the Civil War. Well, I guess
Mhm.
we're like 10 years.
Right.
Okay. I was just trying to figure out U.S. history-wise where we were. I couldn't remember what we talked about 2 weeks ago. Cool. If one was going to go sit in a shady bar, where would one go?
Oh, well, the shady bar in town is the Rattler's Nest.
I might have
Otherwise,
been following a troubled youth trying to be as kind and diplomatic with their naming of Baxter. I only assume said youth is at the Rattler's Den. And I think she like goes to unpin the badge and like stick it in a pocket.
oh well, all right then. Yeah, the Rattler's Nest. Just go out here, make a left, go down the street, and it's down the road. On the right hand side, can't miss it. It's a kind of a dilapidated little place. See probably a pile of broken furniture out back that they had to take out after the last barroom fight. But yeah, that's the answer to
that question.
Kind of our yes indeed. But no, if you want to know anything else, you can stop back.
I appreciate it, sir.
I'll reach out.
Any particular issues you're dealing with other than totally lost the coalition that I need to be aware of, or not really? That's your big problem.
That's kind of the problem. I mean, every town's got various problems, but that's kind of the big thorn in my side, I guess you'd call it right now.
Well, thank you for your time. I'm sure I'll find a place in an inn somewhere around town if you need me.
All right. Well, if
quick notice,
if you're looking for a good place to stay, you can check out Reedstrom's boarding house. They're a nice place. They got nice rooms up on the second floor. It's really the best hotel we got in this town. Otherwise, I mean, you could get rooms at the Rattler's Nest, but I'd be wary of sleeping there. You don't want to get shot or something in your sleep and get robbed. But yeah, I would say if you've got the means, the boarding house is probably a better bet.
Well, I will take a look at that here eventually. I'm gonna go find my troubled youth before he gets. Is he the correct pronouns for Baxter?
He.
Okay, cool. Before he gets into too much trouble without me, I thank you for your time. I'm assuming at some point the cup of coffee got served.
Yeah, he puttered around and he kind of made the coffee and poured you the full glass, and then he kind of poured what was left in his glass and mixed up the grounds.
I think she's probably been sipping on it the whole time, so she takes the one last long drink and then sets the empty glass on the table as a like, I don't want to spurn your hospitality, thank you, kind of measure, and then walks out to see what trouble Baxter has gotten into.
All right,
for the
so
5 minutes they've been apart.
Well, so while you're in the office, the rest of you are making your way down the main street, seeing the hustle and bustle of this little town. You pass by the bank that's, got various people kind of moving in and out, doing their business. Before you all kind of split up as you get to kind of the last cross street before you get to kind of the edge of town, heading out toward the mountains and the silver claims and things like that. So the two groups kind of split off. Baxter and Samuel kind of taking a turn to the right, and it's Michal. Michal. Sister Michal kind of making a turn and following the street to the left. So, Sister Michal, you turn down the side street and you can see this little church building. It looks fairly new, and kind of simple, just one story, just probably big enough for most of the town folk that live here to kind of fit inside. Um, and they may have to squeeze a little bit, but not too bad. And you can see an older gentleman kind of out front with a broom, sweeping the porch. He's wearing a this kind of tall black hat that's kind of round at the top, big brimmed, and he's in dark black clothing, and you can see as you approach his collar, and you recognize his priestly vestment as he's sweeping the porch, kind of humming to himself. And you can see he's a little bit older. He's probably in his mid to late 50s, and he's just kind of working away, happily whistling to himself as he does this. What do you want to do?
Father Bowman, I presume.
He kind of turns. Well, it's Reverend, but Father will do. Sister, what? I don't believe I recognize you. What brings you to the house of God today?
I am quite new in town. I was hoping to establish myself by first introducing myself to you as the current religious authority, and perhaps find appropriate lodgings.
He takes his hat off, and you can see he's got like patchy white hair everywhere, and he's balding on top. And he gives you a little like nod and slight bow of the head, and he's like, "Well, all faithful of God are welcome here at the church, first church of Shade, as we just had this built about 6 months ago. The congregation all volunteered and put their time in to build the church, and they did a very nice job. But
It is
yes,
beautiful, Reverend.
it is. I think it suits the town well. Though should the population grow, we'll have to expand. But we'll see what happens. But yes, I do my best here in town to try to steer the flock away from the temptations of what they think they can find there. And he kind of points toward the hills in the distance. They think that they're going to strike gold or silver or some other kind of riches and going to have an easy life of it, and they get caught up in that. And I'm just trying to do my best to sort of bring them back to the more important things that God has for everyone. Taking care of each other and living a good life and living in the belief in things of that nature. That's my goal.
An admirable goal it is.
But if you do require lodgings, there is some space. I have a small room, but I do have there are 2 other rooms that are unused in the church for guests or those who find themselves on hard times and need a place to stay for a little while.
Wonderful. Such charity is most befitting a man of God. I
Well,
would be happy to stay there.
Excellent. I do believe that, that which we visit on each other will come back to us, and so we must do our best to live good lives. It's important.
Well said.
Thank you. So, let me show you. Here, come with me. And he puts his broom against the side of the door, and he kind of walks over and opens the door and walks inside and leads you kind of down, about halfway down the church. There's a bunch of benches and things that have been built. He kind of turns to the right and walks across, and there's a little hallway, and there's 1 room at the end and 2 rooms to either side. And he says, my room is the one at the far end, and you can have your pick of either of these rooms. And they're simple. There's like a comfortable enough looking kind of bed, and like a chest of drawers, and pretty much not much else. Maybe a chair in the corner in each room. So very, very simple, but clean and comfortable lodgings.
Yes, this will do nicely. Thank you very much, Reverend Bowman.
Well, you're very welcome. And if there's anything I can do for you, I am here. Also, we will have Sunday service. So 2 days from now, we'll have Sunday service in the morning, and you, if you are still in town, you are welcome to come and join us. If there's anything that you want to share with the community, if you look like you've traveled far, you probably have a lot of lessons that you could teach as well.
Oh, indeed. All the way
Oh,
from New York.
oh my goodness, that is a very long journey.
Yes, I was most recently brought the by calling of the divine to Santa Fe, doing the good work there.
Santa Fe, I've not been back in a bit, but it's beautiful town. Large, a bit large for my liking. I like the quieter life, but beautiful nonetheless.
Yes, it's very beautiful.
Oh, I will give you word of warning in town. There's another reverend who keeps about the area. He's not affiliated with the church here, but he's a strange fellow. Just watch out for him. Kind of tall, thick-chested, uh big nose. He's strange, man. Kind of, I don't know how to explain him, but just be wary. He makes the rounds a couple times during the week and has some interesting things to say about his version of faith, I suppose you would call it.
Really?
He goes by Reverend Smythe. As you'll just be wary, but if you meet him, just I want you to be aware. He's I'm concerned for the poor fellow.
And understandably so.
You'll understand much more if you run into him. Just, forewarned is forearmed. Is that what they say?
As they say, God helps those who help themselves, and information is the best way to help yourself.
That's my opinion. Yes, yes, I agree. But yes, if there's anything else, just please don't hesitate to let me know. And the town's very nice, for the most part. Though, just be careful. There's some hot-headed fellows. If you see, especially the anyone coming in from the mountains who looks a little unhappy if they've had a rough go of it in the last few weeks, just give them a bit of a wide berth. They can be a little hot-tempered.
Disappointed by avarice not satisfying as much as they'd hoped.
Unfortunately, they don't understand. But hopefully someday they will.
Hopefully I can help them in some small fashion.
That is our goal. So, but until then, I do have some chores to finish around here, unless there's anything else I can do for you.
Reverend Bowman, I
Yes.
must ask, and this may be related to your concerns about Reverend Smythe. There are rumors, even as far as Santa Fe, about a particular elixir that is apparently present in this town.
Uh, that's gone as far as Santa Fe. Oh,
I'm afraid so.
oh well. There's this gentleman, goes by Mr. Ottermole. He came into town. Oh, he's probably been here 3 months, 4 months. He's got this cart, this shop he has set up by the main road as you come into town, and every day about noontime he opens up shop and goes on and on about his wonderful miracle modern medicine, he calls it. Says it cures everything. I don't put much stock in this, but yes, that's true that quite a few members of the community they they swear by it. They say that it's somebody had a bum leg and says he drinks the tonic and doesn't feel the pain anymore. And another one trouble sleeping, and apparently now they drink their tonic every night, and next thing you know they're awake in the morning and they slept 12 hours and they can't hardly believe it. But like I said, I don't give him the time of day, and I wouldn't spend the church's money on this sort of thing, if you know what I mean.
I do very well.
You can't miss the gentleman. He wears some very, very expressive suits. I believe his favorite is a red and maroon plaid number that he likes to cart himself around in. So, and he's got a very large top hat and a very, very prestigious mustache. I think he uses, I don't know, sticks it to his face every day to make sure it stays in the same way.
I believe there are waxes that achieve such an effect.
Yeah, well, perhaps, but yes. So if you're looking for him, he may be somewhere around town now that the noon hour has well passed, or tomorrow, a little before noon. If you find yourself outside his shop, I'm sure he'll be doing his daily show.
I will be sure to investigate. Thank you, Reverend Bowman.
You're welcome. You're welcome, sister. And he kind of walks away back up the hallway, heading back out to the front to go for his broom.
I am going to put my luggage on the bed and give it a little pat and smile to myself and say, well, that was easy.
Meanwhile, as Sister Michal is settling in at the church, Baxter and Samuel, the two of you, have turned toward the watering hole known as the Rattler's Nest. So you see this single-story dive bar as you approach, and it is definitely the probably the poorest-looking building of the ones you've passed in town, and most definitely in need of a lot of repair that you can see. You see a couple of probably what look to be miners kind of stumbling out, already kind of drunk at this hour of the day, and you can hear some pretty out of tune piano music coming from inside as you approach. As you enter through the main door, you can see that it's a kind of dark, not well lit. There is a bar kind of at the back, and the bartender is sort of standing behind the bar. Looks like they're filling a drink for someone who's sitting. And you notice that most of the furniture is kind of a hodgepodge mix of probably whatever they could find that was still together. And none of it looks like it's in very good shape or expensive, because they probably have to replace furniture very often as it gets broken in bar brawls and things like that. And so you can see currently there's the bartender behind the bar, and he looks like he's filling a drink for a smaller fellow who's sitting at the bar on a stool. And off in another corner, you see this kind of dilapidated piano, and there's this large, very bright red-haired older man kind of sitting at the piano plucking this off-key tune and singing very badly as he does so, as you two both walk in. So, what do you want to do?
I'm gonna go straight up to the bar. I guess next to this smaller person that's on the stool.
Okay.
I'm gonna ask the bartender, whiskey, please.
Sure, whiskey. And he turns around and he pulls down a glass, walks over, picks up a bottle, uncorks it, pours, and then slides it across the bar to you. He looks over your shoulder at Baxter. And you?
Uh, just water this time of hour.
All right. Goes,
Bit too,
pours. I'm sorry, what was that?
bit too early for my taste.
Never too early, huh? He goes over, pours it, kind of slides it over, and kind of gruffly walks away. And the other gentleman who's sitting there with his drink, and he's kind of like twirling it and like nursing it, looks over and nods. He's like, "Well, hi there. How you doing?"
Hello.
I haven't seen your faces before.
We're new here. Clearly.
I can see that. And I love talking to new people. New people have some of the best stories.
Well, I don't know if I got one worth listening to, but this young fella might.
Oh yeah. Well, what do y'all call yourselves?
I'm Baxter, and this is my friend is Sam.
Well, hello, Baxter and Samuel. It's nice to meet you. My name is Arthur McLeary, and I don't know if have you ever read any of my dime novels? I'm a writer. I write these adventures about Kid Lightning, and so I love hearing new stories because you never know what material is going to be good for the next story.
Can't say I heard of you.
Oh,
Tell me about this Kid Lightning.
oh well, Kid Lightning. Kid Lightning is this outlaw. One of the fastest guns alive. Comes up out of Texas, and that's where I've written all the stories about him. You know, fastest gun. Dealt with a bunch of rustlers down there at one point. Just real exciting adventures. But I'm always looking for new material about anybody I can find. I mean, if you've got something interesting, I could write your story and make you famous.
That sounds more your speed, Baxter.
Well, I could tell the day of my murder of my parents.
Wait, you murdered your parents?
No, not me,
Oh,
but my parents were murdered.
oh. He like reaches into a little bag at his hip and pulls out a little pencil, like checks the nub and gets some scratch paper, and he's like, "Well, what happened? Tell me what happened."
Well, it was pretty much like any other. My father was a rancher. And he had bought this piece of land that supposedly had this gold mine. Supposedly. But some see, as I understand it, I don't know much. I was very little. And someone, I don't know who, was just shot my father dead and my mother dead. I was hiding in a closet.
That's terrible.
Hmm.
Did they ever find out who did the shooting?
No. And that's who I'm after. And I place a pocket watch on a, and this was my father's. and
Oh well,
it's the last.
that's a
It's
fine piece.
Mhm. And I click a button, and it sends this music box too.
Well, that's a fine watch. I'm sorry for the sad tale that brings such a fine watch along with it. And they really never just figured out who did that.
Now I have
That's
one lead. They they had this missing eye and this nasty smile. One
he
was
was missing
terrible.
an eye.
Yes, an eye.
That is terrifying. Well,
And I have final final piece, and I place my hand on my revolver, and I scoop up it so that people don't scare off and start shooting. And I show the revolver, and it's very fine piece. It's engraved, and like, it's very nice revolver.
what does the engraving say on it?
Um, I it says like it's not like it doesn't like say anything. It's just like these fine engravings of silver.
He's looking at it and he's like, "That's oh, that's a was that your father's gun too?
Yeah,
Oh my goodness, wow. Well, that's so are you like hoping to find this one-eyed, nasty smiled individual? Like, is that like are you on a revenge mission? You're gonna find him and you're gonna get vengeance for what they did to your family?
something like that. Yes.
Oh, that's well. Now, if you find him, I want you to come back and I want you to tell me because I will definitely write your story. I'll make you famous in dime store novels. Your story will be all over the West. Everywhere you go, you walk into little country stores and you'll see your story right there with Billy the Kid and all the likes of that. He looks over at Samuel. How about you? Do you have any adventures or anything like that? I can make you famous too.
I'm not looking for fame, but
Uh,
my stories are very sad. Was in the war, and a lot of unspeakable things happened there. I'd rather not talk about them. And Samuel's
oh,
gonna just take a very big gulp of whiskey.
well, all right then. And when you take a big gulp of whiskey, the first thing you notice is it is very strong. This bar has some really solid liquor going for it for being such a little bit of a dive. Probably has a little bit of a kick when you first drink it.
This place always got the good stuff.
Oh, yeah, they got a pretty good supply of alcohol here. You gotta nurse them because first time I drank here, whew, I almost overdid it because I wasn't careful.
Interesting. Well, you make that around here?
I'm not sure who he gets his supply from. Honestly, like he's Rattler over there doesn't talk much about his business prospect and things like that. He kind of it's quiet sort.
Right. Well, you must be getting all kinds of information around here. What's the local news talk?
Oh well, I don't know. It does get a little bit busy around here. I could tell you. I guess there's been a lot of issues with the cattle, the smaller outlying cattle ranches. not the big three, but the littler ones. They complaining a lot about cattle getting stolen and their herds dwindling down because somebody's really in the business of stealing what
Wrestling.
ain't theirs. Yeah, so I mean, it's becoming a bit of an issue for sure. I'll tell you, I can't 100% say. And he kind of looks around, see, but you know, it's kind of a joke that the Mendozas, they got their cattle ranch, and their herd, it's always flourishing. They always got a lot of cows and things like that, but no one's quite sure where they all come from. And some people kind of whisper behind their backs that they think that Mendoza's kind of behind the whole cattle rustling, and that's how they keep their herd nice and full on a regular basis. They taking it from those that can't really do anything about it.
And what the lawman trying to do about it?
I think the marshal's a good guy. He's a little bit older, but he's a serious type. He doesn't do for people doing illegal things like that. But the problem is, he comes up against the committee there that Martin and his sons have kind of put together, and they kind of protect the whole cattle ranching, at least of the big three. Like, because as far as they're concerned, without their money and without their the jobs that they provide, then Shade wouldn't be able to kind of maintain itself. So we should all just be happy with what they bring to the picture.
I see what you're saying.
So yeah, it's a little tough, but that's how it is. It's how it is.
You know anything about the mines nearby?
A little bit. I don't really get out there much, but it's owned by the Shallot family, and it's a ways out. You gotta kind of go out of town here at this other end of town, and I mean, follow the road up into the mountains ways. But they mine silver, as far as I know, do a really good business. But unfortunately, the turnover can be pretty big because mining's dangerous. They've had
I know that.
Yeah, they've had some collapse issues. They had a problem 6-7 months back. They had a flooding issue in one of the parts of the mine, and some guys didn't make it out. Things like that. But I mean, those things happen, I suppose.
Yeah. Well,
And
seeing... Go ahead.
In this Charlotte family, have you met them? What are they like?
I mean, I've run into Jeremy, who's he owns the mine. Seems like he's an all right sort. Kind of got a good head for business. He's good with numbers and things like that. He's a little gruff with people, but I mean, I guess you don't really need to be super duper people person if you're paying their bills. But I mean, otherwise, I mean, he's not too bad. His family also owns one of the bigger cattle ranches too, so they're real well off. But I mean, they seem all right. I don't know. I'm not much help with that. I never got a good story out of them, I guess.
Is there, because, what would have, is a jeweler? Is that a thing? Like, I guess a general store? Bank?
Well, yeah, we got the bank in town, and the general store for sure. I mean, they could deal with in some of the business there.
Where do all the prospectors go with their newly found fortunes?
Well, they usually will talk. They check in with the mayor, and they set up with the bank to kind of trade in what they have if they want to exchange it for a cash equivalent. If it's a big enough find, the bank kind of can take possession of it. They get it protected with, what's that, insurance type thing, and they can make arrangements to have it sent back to Santa Fe or down to Albuquerque, and safely transported for them if they want to get out of town. But yeah, so if you wanted to find out about how the money moves, the First National Bank's probably your best bet.
All right. Thank you.
And at this point, Marshal, you probably wander in. You can see sitting at the bar is Baxter and Samuel. And Sister Michal, did you stay at the church or did you kind of wander off out to do something else too?
Probably I'm going to head to the den of ill repute that the father pointed out.
Okay. So the two of you, both Marshal and Sister Michal, could actually kind of run into each other kind of at the intersection of the main road and head this direction together. So you'd be arriving at the same time, entering into this low-ceilinged, darkened, dilapidated saloon where you see the two familiar backs of your traveling companions and one or two other individuals.
So before we enter, I'm going to tip my hat to the sister, because that just seems like the appropriate thing to go do and say, "Sister, are you sure you want to be entering this place?"
It is not a matter of what I want. It is a matter of where it would be best to go to try and ease the troubled souls of the flock.
All right.
And besides, I'm not worried about my safety when I have you by my side.
Oh, you flatter me too much to not want to take care of you. So I take her by the arm and walk her in.
All right, so the two of you enter the bar, and Baxter and Samuel, you hear the swing and the click of the door of the saloon as you hear the footsteps behind you and see the sister and the marshal coming into the room.
I am trying to be incognito about my marshal status, by the way. I've legitimately put my badge away somewhere where it's easy to get to, but not in plain view.
You see the big oh, thank you very much. Thank you, Katie. Oh, and an advantage to Brooke and to me, so I will add those in. You see the big burly red-headed older man still kind of plunking at the piano keys, and he's still kind of singing to himself as he does it and minding his business. And the smaller gentleman at the bar with Samuel and Baxter kind of looks around at the approach of two people, and he's like, "Well, hello there."
Sister came to convince us not to drink devil water anymore again.
That would be the hope, but one can only do so much in this life.
Well, you're going to have to try a little harder than that. And Samuel's going to mostly finish his drink.
All right. As you're finishing your drink and the other two kind of walk up and are moving up to the bar, you hear footsteps on the front porch again. And the door kind of swings open. And another man kind of comes strolling through the door. He's tall, kind of lanky. He's wearing black gloves. He's got a white shirt with pearl buttons on it. He's got a gray double-breasted vest with he's wearing black pants, and he's got a long black duster on, and he's got these boots that kind of go all the way up to his knees. They look like a set of decent cavalry boots. And he's got a big black hat that's kind of on his head, but it's down low enough to cover most of his face. Which you can see the lower part of his face is kind of very pale. And as he walks, his spurs kind of clink on the floor, and the sun hits him, and you can see that they're golden spurs that are fashioned in the shape of Chinese dragons. And as he strolls across and his duster kind of swings as he walks, you can see that he has 3 holsters on his gun belt. He's got one on each hip, and he's got a third one that goes right across his belly. Each of them holds a Colt Peacemaker, and the guns are plated in gold and silver. And he has this long, ragged, kind of gray hair that's sort of like thin, that hangs down from under his hat. And he just silently, the only sound he makes is just the footstep with the spur clink. And he just strolls over the bar and nods at the bartender, who reaches for a bottle and pours a drink and slides it over to him. And you notice the small man that you've been talking to, he sort of like, whoosh, whoosh, like turns and tries to make himself even smaller and try to like put like Samuel sort of between him and this newcomer. And he's like, oh no, oh no, no, no. Oh, well, just gonna, yeah. Oh, I hope he doesn't see me. Oh no. Yep.
Baxter will lean in. Who's that?
Yeah, well, that fellow, he's, that's Arkansas. He's, well, no, wait, I'm sorry. That's Boston. Too many names. That's Boston. He's a gunslinger. He comes all the way out from Massachusetts out here. But he's, oh, you don't want to get on the wrong side of him. No siree. Boston yeah, he'll kill you before you even realize it happened, man. You don't want to get on the wrong side of that guy. And, oh, I hope he doesn't recognize me, because, oh, I might have taken some of his exploits and used them in a book and didn't give him credit for doing what he did. I gave credit to somebody else, and yeah, that's bad. That's bad. I'm just going to sit over here, and he kind of picks up his drink. Mm-hmm.
Hearing all this, Samuel's going to lean forward in the bar to try and kind of, block his view a little bit of Arthur.
He kind of gives you a little nod.
Yeah.
Yeah, you just don't want to get on the wrong side of him. And as he says that, the big burly redhead from the across the room yells over real loud at the figure at the bar, and he's like, "What are you doing in here? You're that Yankee. We don't want Yankees in here." And he leans over and he picks up a cap off the back of the piano and puts it on his head, and you can see it's one of the old Confederate caps as he puts it on. And he you need to leave this bar. We don't like you. Get out of here. Just go. And Boston just sits and drinks his drink and doesn't say anything. Just looking toward the front, kind of minding his own business. Just nursing his drink, not looking around, not making eye contact with anybody. And you guys can all roll me either a spot hidden or a firearms handgun roll real quick.
I'm going with firearms. What color am I supposed to hit again?
The green.
Green.
I don't know.
I'll go with spot hidden.
Okay.
Well,
oh my.
What? That rolled 0. How did that? Oh, because I hit the wrong one. Dirt. A 71 is actually a success for my 80 in firearms.
Okay. All right. So we'll say that Marshal, you're the only one who notices. So Boston's guns, as he sat down and kind of like swung his duster so that he could sit more comfortably on the stool, you kind of got a little bit better look at his guns, and you see a couple of things. First thing is the trigger guards are not there; they've been removed. So, you know, as someone who's good with guns, that means it just makes it easier to shoot more quickly. He goes right for the trigger, so it's faster shot. You also notice that the handles look like they're carved like very delicately, like someone who's very good at like scrimshaw art has carved the grips on the handles. You can't, from your distance you're at, you can't exactly make out what the scene is, but it's literally like
So
some
did I
kind of
notice his
artsy.
dragon spurs? 'Cause I'm
Yeah,
assuming when I heard...
you all saw that when he came in. Yeah, those
So
are very evident.
does he look like he comes? Well, okay, do I know what an Asian looks like? And to me,
Oh,
does
he
he
is definitely
appear...
not no, he is not
Okay.
Asian. Yep. Yeah, no, he is definitely, he's tall, lanky, graying hair, so probably middle age, very pale white skin under the hat. Like you haven't really gotten a good look at his eyes or anything because the hat sits real low, but definitely very pale white.
So I'm gonna go up to him because I'm crazy like that, and I'm going to...
Arthur's like kind of looks away, like leans down.
When Marshall is like going out there, I'm ready in my my clover leaf. Like I'm not throwing it out, but I'm ready to throw it. And it's hidden somewhere in the sleeve or something.
All right.
So I am also wearing a duster, and I also carry multiple weapons, multiple guns. Only 2. I'm not that fancy, but I'm gonna throw my duster back, throw my hat on the table, flip a chair. Well, okay, so I'm gonna flip a chair around, throw the duster back, and sit with the like back of the chair towards the table.
Like you're a youth pastor?
Sure. I'm trying to be hip with the kids. And I'm gonna say, those are nice guns you have there.
He kind of like, you get the impression that he side eyes you, and then there's just a brief like movement of his chin, like acknowledging that you said it, and he takes another swig of his whiskey, still leaning over the bar, not turning, not like acknowledging you with his body as he does this.
What brings you in here today? That is not a yes or no question.
He lifts the drink a little and swirls it and takes another swig and puts it back down and doesn't verbally answer you.
Okay,
as he's doing this and you're sitting there, the big redhead starts singing, and he's like, on the plains of Manassas, the Yankees we met, we gave them a whipping they'll never forget. Really loud, he starts singing this song, and it's completely like, you can tell he's trying to insult this Yankee that he's been yelling at, as he's just raising his voice and getting louder and more belligerent.
I'm going to go over to the redhead.
I'm looking at I'm taking start analyzing this man. Like, is this like actually like aggravating him at all?
You can make a psychology roll, Baxter, to see. And Sister, so you're walking toward the redhead?
Yep.
All right. So Baxter, you can't tell if it's angering him or not. The Boston is still just sitting there. His body language is just, he's sitting still. He's not making any movement aside from the occasional picking up the glass and drinking his drink. As you approach, the redhead is still singing, and he looks at you as you're coming closer, still singing this song very loudly.
friend, I am afraid that you are disturbing many of the individuals here with your, at the moment, off-key singing. If you like, I could counsel you in some more appropriate songs, perhaps a hymn.
He looks at you and he's like, "Oh, offending you too. Oh, what? You from the same area as that one there? That Yankee over there? Yeah, you don't like my singing? Well, I was here first. I can sing whatever I want." And he like fixes his cap on his head. "What are y'all gonna do about it?"
At that comment, can I pull out my badge and throw him out of the freaking bar? Or at least attempt to?
So you're gonna pull out your badge,
Yep.
and so what do you do as you pull out your badge? What do you say
Well, I'm
something,
gonna
or
walk.
you just
Go
ahead?
Well, actually, I think I will give him a second try, a second chance. He disrespected my nun friend. He's best not disrespect me, or he's getting thrown out. So, I think Marshall goes up to him and goes, "You best be stopping now. I'd prefer there be no fight. And I don't think you could take him. And I don't want to deal with a dead body. So either you knock it off, or you're going to leave one way or the other."
So as you say this, you can roll. Do you want to roll like an intimidate check at him?
I mean, can it be persuade? It's probably intimidation. It's fine.
Yeah, he's been drinking. You think for a while. You definitely think that you've got to maybe get a
And it
little.
points into intimidate. That's why I was asking. Anyway. Nope. Not
All right,
intimidating.
so he kind of like stands full height to kind of get eye to eye and chest to chest with you, Marshall. And for the first time, you hear this low, gruff voice come from the stranger in the black duster, and he says very quietly, it just carries. "Before he has every bitch coyote and the caballetas in here for a rut, you should toss him out of here, bartender." And you see the redhead like look at you, Marshall, for a second, and then look past at Boston sitting on his stool. Still, he hasn't moved. And he's like, "What are you gonna do?" And Boston stands up, turns around and looks at him. And for the first time, you see he's like got these just dark, dark eyes under the cap as he lifts it enough to look straight at him. And he says, "We'd best step outside and see if you're as fancy as you think you are." And Boston just grins at him, this really creepy grin, and starts walking toward the door of the saloon to go outside. Just turns his back and starts walking away. So what are the rest of you doing as Boston's walking away?
I'm following.
Oh, for
I want to see this.
fuck's sake.
All right, so Baxter gets up and starts to walk from the bar to follow to see what happens.
Can I try to keep him inside? I know I just threatened to throw him out, but I really don't want a dead body. I don't want to show up in town and have a dead body.
All right, so you're gonna stay there next to this big fellow and try to like interpose yourself so he doesn't leave.
Yes.
All right. What about Sister and Samuel?
I'm gonna try and talk the dumbass down.
Okay.
Samuel's gonna just, I guess, hold on to his, like, put his hand on his gun and kind of just wait to see what comes about.
Okay. So, Sister Michal, you, what are you gonna do to try to change this guy's mind?
I'm going to put a hand on his arm. and I'm going to say, friend, be reasonable. If you go out there, you will die, and your soul, I very much doubt, is right with God at the moment. Wouldn't it be better to live a long and happy life than to lose all of that over a moment's rage?
He
Doesn't
turns
that
his
seem
eyes
like
toward
folly?
you. He looks at you for a second. Do you want to make a persuasion roll to try to
Uh,
convince him?
I'd love to.
All right.
Yeah, dang it. We're
All right.
Ah,
So
heck.
you've got your arm on his arm, and Marshall, you are sort of stepping to kind of interpose yourself to stop him if he moves toward the door. And for a second, he looks between Sister Michal and Marshall, and then back toward the figure that's walking away with his back to him with just a click, the click of the spurs, the footsteps. And Baxter, you're kind of walking up to head toward the door as well. And Marshall and Sister Michal, you, in that instant, you see the big red-haired fellow's hand that Sister Michal doesn't have a hand on. You see it move to the holstered gun at his hip. It just moves to it. It kind of touches the hilt, the handle of the gun. And you get the sense in that instant that he's going to draw. And Baxter and Samuel, you see Boston. He's almost to the saloon doors, and Baxter's like maybe 3 steps to one side. He spins in the doorway. And before this big red-haired fellow can close his hand on the grip and pull the gun, Boston has 2 guns out of their holsters. You just see him. 2 shots go off. So, Sister and Marshall, you're standing just within feet of this big red-haired fellow as 2 bullets go through each of his eyes. And before he even hits the floor, Boston puts both guns back in their holsters. Looks around. Nods at everyone.
what?
Casually says, "Guess he saw the error of his ways." Spins back toward the door and starts walking out.
Guy's on my list.
Swings the doors open and walks out onto the porch. And you hear his feet, kind of the sounds of his footsteps disappearing on the porch. You see at the bar Arthur with his little notepad scribbling. And
I do not consent to be in one of your stories. Oh wait, I don't know anything about.
You don't know about his stories. You
That's
see him
a story for
scribbling
you there.
as you hear the footsteps recede, and then he must have stepped off the porch at this point because you don't hear his feet anymore.
Motherfucker.
Well,
And then
hell.
in that instant, the body hits the ground with these just 2 smoking holes in his eyes. His hat just flops on the floor.
Maybe we should just have prohibition in this town. I feel like that solved 90% of the problems. Sam's like, no. Well, I guess I gotta report what I saw to the marshal.
Yourself?
The town marshal. No, not me.
The
Your
horse?
horse.
You know what? I don't like the 2 of you anymore. Fend for yourself, sister.
The bartender looks around and says, "I'll pay someone $2 to take the body and clean it up."
Samuel's gonna put the cup down or a glass and say, fill up my drink and I'll do it. And he starts pulling the body out.
I'm gonna help you out. And
I take
the legs.
So he'll pour Samuel a drink and he'll give Baxter $1, and he basically figures that's splitting the price. You can take that over to the church since the father will probably see about burying it.
I know the way. I can show you to it.
Much obliged.
So I think the marshal is actually going to stay while the three of them leave. And I think
Okay.
she's actually going to drink Samuel's glass of whiskey after they leave. Which I get is theft. I guess Baxter's rubbing off on me. But I don't
So
really...
it begins.
I'll buy him another one. It's fine. It'll be okay.
So you sit down, you drink Samuel's drink. Meanwhile, the three of you, as you exit, all of you can roll me a spot hidden check, please.
Oof.
So Baxter, you notice down, toward the, like a distance down the road, you see the figure, Boston. He's standing next to a horse, and there's another man standing opposite him with his own horse, and they look like they're exchanging words, possibly a little bit angrily, but the conversation doesn't carry, so they're not yelling at each other. And you kind of think that this is just a quick interaction between them before both of them mount up on their horses and start riding away, sort of toward the outskirts of town, heading toward the hills. And the other gentleman is kind of tall, but thicker build than Boston, like maybe a little chunky, dressed all in black with a tall black hat with a rounded top to it. But you can't really see a lot of details of him because it's you're a little bit too far away, and he's kind of got his back to you. But even though they look like they've kind of exchanged maybe angry words, they still ride off together. So maybe they had a disagreement, but they seem to be very familiar with each other. But you're the only one that sees the two of them. As you kind of have the legs, so Samuel's back is to this, and Sister Michal is probably pointing out the direction to the church at the time, so you're the only one who's got a good view of these two figures that are exiting.
Right this way. Mind the head. Careful you don't drop it, Mr. Smith.
I got it.
So, and you very quickly, because it's not too far away, you can meander away. You do get some looks from a couple of individuals as you come walking by with a body. They don't look overly surprised. This is actually probably, unfortunately, a more common occurrence than anybody would like. But just you see them sort of take in the individual that you're carrying, the circumstances of the individual, and then just sort of eyeballing the three of you because they don't recognize you, as you're obviously not local.
Can I actually approach one of the pastors, one of the gawkers?
Sure. There's some kids that keep their distance a little bit, but there's a couple women, couple men.
I think I'll approach one of the women.
Okay. She sort of looks up at you. Oh, hello.
Hello. Forgive me for bothering you while you were taking in the sights, but I was wondering if you happen to know that poor man's name and his next of kin.
Oh, yeah, most people know him. Yes, he's a bit of well, he was a bit of a hothead. His name is Jedediah. Jedediah Cantrell, but most of the boys called him Arkansas. Um, he's he doesn't really have any kin. He's been here for quite a while. Rumor had it that he had killed a few people back east, and he came out this way to get out of trouble for doing it. So he's been here for quite some time. Usually picked up work where he could, made a little money, and then would get himself fired and get drunk and move on to the next opportunity. As far as I've heard about him.
Well, let this be a lesson to all of you. This is what a life of wrath brings you. A quick and undignified end.
Or maybe just don't mess with the man with the fancy guns.
There are many morals that can be derived from this story.
She is there anything else I can help you with, sister?
Forgive me, what is your name?
Oh, I'm Claudette.
Claudette. Lovely meeting you. I hope I'll see you at Sunday. Fuck. Joanna is blanking on the word.
Sunday
Mass.
service.
Mass, that's it. Jesus.
Oh yes. My husband and I will be there. We usually try to get there early to get a decent seat.
Wonderful. God be with you.
Oh, thank you, and you as well. And God rest his soul. At least he's maybe he'll find peace. He never found peace before, just drink and fighting. And then she kind of heads away, a little uncomfortable with the double eyes being shot out. As you
Imagine
three
that.
kind of as you three carry this body to the priest or the reverend. So Marshall, you're sitting in the bar.
Yep.
Arthur is quietly just scribbling away in his notebook now.
So I'm gonna ask him to pour me 2 glasses of whiskey, one to replace the one I already drank, and another one to drink. So Sam will be none the wiser that his original glass was missing.
Okay.
And then I'm going to ask him about the man with the fancy inscribed or engraved guns, and if it's common for him to do that. I guess I'm looking for more information on who that was.
So the bartender will pour you your second drink and will refill Samuel's drink that you have now finished. Arthur, who's sitting next to you at the bar writing in his notepad, is like, oh, well, now that he's gone. Yes, so he's a hell of a gunslinger, one of the fastest guns that I've ever heard of. Obviously, I mean, did you see that? Did you see what he just did? I mean, he wasn't even looking, and now Arkansas is dead, and I mean, how did he even know? But then I've heard the story that he's done that before. You know, there was this one time where Boston, he managed to, what?
Keep going with your story. Never mind.
He's been credited with deaths all over, more than a dozen men. There was these 4 men that he managed to kill, all before they could draw on him. And the best part was, 2 of them, they had their guns already drawn and were behind Boston at the time, and he still killed all 4 of them.
So let me tell you, everybody thinks he's some like spooky, scary, supernatural thing.
Well, I mean, he's just very good with his guns. I mean,
so one of the cult because she also has cult peacemakers, that's why she commented on his guns. She pulls out the one where along the barrel you see all the notches of like all the outlaws that she took back dead because they didn't want to go alive. I'm not a bad shot myself, and she'll just set the gun on the bar.
Oh, I'd still be concerned. Like you better be real sure of your skills if you ever think about going up against Boston. He's That's why I was so nervous. I kind of took liberties with some personal information on him, and used it in one of my books. And I really thought he was going to recognize me and was going to take offense, but thankfully he either didn't see me or he doesn't know. Hopefully it's the latter.
I think as long as you didn't offend him and call him a Yankee, you probably were okay.
I mean, maybe, but so basically this is the thing. He hadn't been seen for a while, so I basically wrote in one of my books about Kid Lightning that Kid Lightning shot Boston, and Boston died of lead poisoning from the bullet. So, I could see where he might be offended that I killed him off, as far as that goes.
Well, I'm in town, and if push comes to shove, I just saw him murder a man.
Well, I mean...
And he did it literally right in front of the lawman.
Well, I mean, honestly,
After
I
I
think...
pulled out my badge.
I'll tell you the truth, lawman. Honestly, I think that if Arkansas, if it had been anybody else, Arkansas would have just shot him in the back. So, I mean, really, Boston just was defending himself because, I mean, that's what Arkansas is, kind of a shitty guy like that.
I was going for the gun, my gun, that one I put on the table here with all the notches.
Yep.
I was gonna pull it on him anyway.
On who? Arkansas?
Yes.
Oh, well, and look at that. See, you were going to pull your gun, and Boston killed him before you even pulled your gun. So really, you should be glad that you didn't go on the wrong side of Boston. Right?
And anyway, what can you tell me about... He mumbled something about Ciboletta?
Oh, the mountains.
Ah.
The mountains. The Ciboletta Mountains.
Is that where all the silver and mines are?
Yeah. That's all the claims in the silver mine. They're all up the mountain over there. Oh, but you got to be careful if you go up in the mountains. You got to be careful because there's a tribe of Navajo who their home's up there in the hills too, and you don't want to. They take offense if you go on their land unexpected. So you have to be real careful where you go. You got to know what you're doing when you go out there. If you don't know what you're doing, you don't go outside. You don't go to the mountains. That's all I'm saying.
I think she does the quick, throws back the second glass, puts the glass, and I think Marshal will go to the other Marshal and not to their horse before you ask. And mention, she'll go and do that, and as she walks out, because now she knows this guy writes stories. And if you got all the dirt on her, you have one juicy story.
So, Marshal.
Yes.
Roll me a con roll, too, before you head out of the bar.
Oh, for drinking? I mean, that's fair, I guess.
Maybe.
Constitution is 50.
Excellent. You definitely hold your liquor and have no ill effects from downing your 2 large glasses of whiskey as you stroll away from the Rattler's Nest.
Finally, a good roll. Jesus.
So meanwhile, the other 3 of you have carried the body of Arkansas down the street with the gawkers kind of paying attention to the church where Reverend is still going about his chores. Currently, he's got the doors to the church open, and he's inside. It looks like he's now kind of sweeping up and kind of wiping down some of the benches inside the church as you approach with the body.
Shouldn't we take this guy to coroner?
I honestly am uncertain whether such a small town has one, and I would rather see to it that the Reverend does the appropriate funereal rites so as to bring what minimal ease can be brought to this troubled soul.
As you say that, the Reverend looks up and sees you approaching, and once again puts his broom down against the bench that he was sweeping under, and hastily heads toward the door. Sister, what's going on here? Oh my, oh, what happened? The poor soul.
What was this thing he said? He saw the error of his ways.
Oh, more violence? Is that what did I hear gunshots? I thought maybe, but I hope not.
Yeah, Boston shot his, well, eyes out.
Oh, terrible. Boston. Oh, the gunslinger from Massachusetts. Yes.
The very same.
He's a frightening fellow. I fear for his soul when he passes into the next life. I doubt that he can do enough good works, even if he wanted to make up for the evil that he's done. But this poor man. This also another troubled soul. I fear that there is going to be no rest for this one either. This is terrible, terrible. See, these are the things that happen in this town. These lawless folk, they don't understand their choices. But don't. Yes.
I don't think this man was that any of a good man at all. From what I saw him.
No, he did not live a good life. He caused much trouble, and but everyone could redeem themselves if they really had wanted to. But now it's too late. But he must be heavy. I'll bring him in and I'll get him cleaned up, and I'll have to bury him in the churchyard. It's so sad, so sad. And you, I don't know either of you either. New faces. Hello, welcome. I'm sorry
they
that
traveled in with me, Reverend.
Oh, I see. Yes, I'm sorry that in your first few hours of being in town that you've already seen the darkness that comes here and that settles over here from time to time. I do my best, but unfortunately I am one man.
And you can call me Baxter.
Hello, Baxter.
This
Reverend Bowman.
This one is Samuel.
Samuel. Yes, I'm a Reverend Bowman, and I would welcome you to Shade, but I see you've already had the unofficial welcome. Yes, just put him down. Here, we'll take him into the other room, the other bedroom, and I'll get him cleaned up and take care of. This is just so sad. I'm sorry. So he will guide you to the other room that Sister Michal is not staying in. He moves the mattress off the bed, so you just put him on like the wooden frame so he doesn't bleed on the mattress. And forethought, And he says, "You don't need to stay for this. I'll call the doctor just to come and and help me. He's a good fellow. I don't want you to have to stay and deal with this. Should it's going to be getting late in the day. Have you two gotten rooms? The sister is staying here. If you need a place, you could stay at once we get the body cleaned up and clean the room here. There's also the boarding house.
Yeah, we did not pick a room yet. Does it cost here?
Oh, here in the church, if you would like to stay, you could stay for free for a number of days. The boarding house is nicer accommodations, though it does cost money. But it's up to you.
What say you, Baxter?
Well, it's free housing, so why not?
Yeah, I like the sound of that.
All right then. Well, we'll get this cleaned up, and then we'll get the room taken care of for you, so you can stay this evening. I'll go and get the doctor. You should go and get yourselves a hot meal at least. If you go to the boarding house, just let them know I sent you, and they'll give you a deal, a better rate on the meal for yourselves this evening. They can't do it all the time, but they'll, if you tell them you're friends of mine, they'll give you a good meal.
And what was the father's name?
Reverend Bowman.
His name is Reverend Bowman. Yeah.
That is very kind of you, Reverend.
I try. I see. I mean, even here they're doing a good service. They didn't have to bring this poor soul's body back to the church, and here they did this out of the kindness of their hearts, and kindness must be rewarded. So as the Reverend is he sort of closes the door and leaves the body in the room and kind of leads you all out, and he can point you in the direction of the boarding house, which you saw in passing, to go get a meal. He's gonna go and he walks with you for a ways because he's going to collect the doctor to come and help him kind of clean up the man's body and prep it for burial. So as you all are doing that, and Marshal, you are making your way back to the marshal's office.
Mm-hmm.
I think because it is 9, we will close it there with your first evening kind of settling out in shade.
Told you this place was shady.
Yeah, there's some things going on. So
It was so nice and uneventful.
I mean, at least there wasn't tree sap in that whiskey.
well, I mean, you made your con roll. Anyway. But so we'll leave it on it's your first evening in town. You've met some few interesting individuals. There's been a little excitement now. And you're off to get a good meal and for Marshall to report in to let the current lawman know what's happening here. So, why don't we go around? If you have anything you want to plug or anything you want to mention, we'll go backward with Baxter. Do you have anything you'd like to share?
Yeah, I'm usually in. Well, I have no. It's been a long time since I last streamed here on Twitch, but I'm here on Twitch at Anarchdovi, pretty much everywhere Anarchdovi, and come watch me on play Zomboid or something else, Noita.
Okay. And how about our resident geologist, Samuel?
Yeah, I'm still putting myself back together after PAX Unplugged, but I stream on Twitch here on Tankstein, and that's about it.
Excellent. And how about our woman of God, our sister Michal?
I do not stream on Twitch, not due to any. Don't know. I hope that didn't sound as judgy as it.
Nope.
You're fine.
Yeah, follow me on Twitter unless you don't want to, in which case, have a good night.
That's the best. And how about Marshall, not Marshall the horse or Marshall the other Marshall, but our resident Marshall the lawman.
Hi, I played Marshal Wallace. I don't have anything else going on at the moment. I'm hoping to add some new shows in the new year since my shift will be changing at work on the 3rd and I have a day shift. Same days off, so it won't affect this game. But I mean, I guess it wouldn't anyway because it ends at 4:30 Central and we didn't get on until 5:30. But I'm mumbling. Best place to follow me and see all my shenanigans and what I get up to is over on Twitter. I try to retweet the things I'm involved in. But other than that, I hope you all have a wonderful night. And thank you for doing this the day after PAX Unplugged. I can't decide if you're crazy or crazy or this is just like delirium from PAX Unplugged. I don't know.
Completely both.
Same.
I mean, that's also probably fair.
Regardless, thank you so much for running.
Yes.
Oh, thank you. Yes, because I am too. Am fresh back from Philadelphia. Though I did lay low. I don't think I had as much of excitement as Ray had. But
did you
the
also
travel
go
and everything.
one less day than a lot of people did? Like, didn't you leave Friday when a lot of people were already there Thursday?
Probably. So I was mostly there on Saturday, but I traveled the whole weekend. So I'm Jeanette. You can find me here. I stream. This game will be every other Monday, so we'll be back in 2 weeks. Next Tuesday, I have another Cthulhu game that I'm running, which runs every other Tuesday, same time, 7 p.m. Eastern. And then every other Sunday, so this coming Sunday, at 4:30 p.m. Eastern, I'm doing Skull and Shackles as a D&D 5e adventure. And otherwise, I play on Power Score RPG. I play over on Scotty Hood's channel, doing some D&D 5e. And then if I occasionally show up on other random games. But I'm around. You can check my Twitter for updates and stuff like that too. And we'll be back, like I said, in 2 weeks. And it should be fun. I mean, who knows what'll happen next. This is just your first night in town. Somebody already got 2 eyes shot out. Luckily, it was none of you.
Whiskey.
You did?
You don't know. I replaced it. I'm at least honest enough to replace it.
But you know who does know? God.
You pretend like I care.
Oh, you will. You will.